Because winning is contagious, I believe.
Absolutely.
I think it's something that's learned. And there's this foundation that's already built. And then you can take that into business. You find a lot of really successful ex-athletes in business because business is a game. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Vacation Rental Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Shawn Moore, and we are back with some of our favorite episodes called Whisky Wednesday, where Dave and I have conversations about some of the personal things going on in our lives, some trending topics in the vacation rental world, and then we answer a couple questions that you guys send in. So if you have questions, if you have comments and different topics that you want us to talk about, make sure you let us know on the platforms that you're on, in the comments, DM us, wherever you can find us. Make sure you send those in, and we'll make sure we get them answered. And so, Dave, let's dive in, my man. You got your notes always. I like it.
I'm excited. I'm excited for this episode. I was excited for the last episode, but this one I'm actually more excited.
You're more excited?
Yeah, more excited.
I like that. I like that when you're more excited.
So as always, we try to talk about a little something personal, what's going on in our world. We dive into a short-term rental market kind of topic, and then we get a couple questions from our community. So we'll just dive right in.
Let's go.
It's getting to be a little bit of a cooler in the evenings around here in Utah.
Know. Fall's setting in, man. I want
football.
Yeah, I love football season. Football season is my favorite season.
I know. I'm excited. I like fall. I love summer. I like fall, but it's always a good transition.
I'm the opposite. I like summer. I love fall.
I could be in the heat, 100 degrees. Shawn, he's like a 60-degree kind of guy.
Dave comes in, turns his heater on every day.
Yeah.
We have to have meetings outside of the office, outside of Dave's office, because it's 85 degrees.
I have to take a walk every so often in the summer to get warm outside. To kind of thaw out. Speaking of the fall, we have football. We have sports. We have fall sports. I know you coach Wyatt's football and basketball teams that kind of getting in gear. So that's exciting. We're both highly involved in sports. I had the opportunity to go to Spokane, Washington this weekend with my daughter. She may have an opportunity to play soccer there. So we were up visiting the campus. And
may have an opportunity. Hey, let's have the personal episode be on you this time. Right, you're right in the middle of. Sophie's getting really recruited. So shout out to Sophie. She's worked really, really hard. It's so awesome to see. But you've been on the road a little bit.
Yeah.
She's a top recruit for girls soccer in the country. She's going to getting invited to some of the best schools in the country. You're going to number 1 in the nation this afternoon.
Yeah,
which
we're
is
going
pretty
to BYU this afternoon. We may have to cut this short a little bit.
Hey, I'm going to flip. Give me those notes. I'm going to start asking the questions.
If you do, I need to wear that cowboy hat.
All right, you ask the questions.
Anyway, so yeah, we're both
you're
into sports.
Yeah.
We both played college basketball. One of the things that I appreciate about what I've been through in my career, and I assuming you feel the same, is what you've learned through your athletics and your career as a basketball player and how that's transitioned to your success as a business owner. We know that there are some big lessons that you learn through sports, and I think they transition easily over to owning your own business and the competitiveness and being able to work through challenges and tough times and stuff. So, you agree? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you kind of know my opinion on this, but there's a lot of times where we're hiring, and what is one of the criteria I tell you is, say, let's look for some former athletes that have had success winning at times. Yeah. And the reason for that is because it's hard. Yeah. Winning is tough, right? And doing anything at a high level takes a lot of grit, determination, and hard work. And you go through these ups and downs that are hard for anybody that hasn't gone through that to really understand. And not that you can't be an amazing business person without sports, right? But most of us grew up playing sports. Yeah. And then some of us took it to the high school level, and then some of us took it to the college level, and then ultimately some take it to the pro level. You and I were both fortunate to play college sports, and we look back and I know, I love team sports too, because you're a part of something greater than yourself, right? There's this aspect where you have to commit to things that maybe you're not always on board with, right? Maybe you fully agree with everything going on, maybe you don't. don't, you're usually a piece of that success. You can't do it on your own, right? You have to rely on other people. So you learn to trust your teammates. It's another reason why I say I love military. I love people in the military. I mean, you want to talk about discipline and determination and being able to deal with adversity. And that's what I love about sports, period, right? I love watching games, because it's like this drama that unfolds in front of you live every single time somebody takes the court or takes the field. And it's just, as much preparation as you put in for anything, it doesn't always go exactly how you planned, right? And so, but also, one, when I love talking to and really working with and investing with ex-athletes, because I know, especially somebody that did it at a high level and was in a winning program, right? Because winning is contagious, I believe. Absolutely. I think it's something that's learned. And there's this foundation that's already built, and then you can take that into business. You find a lot of really successful ex-athletes in business because business is a game, right? Business is you prepare, you plan, you execute all these different things. When you take the field or you go to work and you figure things out, it doesn't, it's like going into a game. It doesn't always work out exactly like you practiced, right? And so I feel like people who have been there and who have operated in that environment, it starts to become more natural. They're okay with the hard work, right? They're okay. One of my favorite books is Winning by Tim Grover. I mean, amazing book. And he wrote Relentless as well. And if you haven't watched those, 100% recommend them. But the real point of the book Winning is how hard it is and what it takes and being able to really and the discipline and the determination it takes. And so athletes kind of have to do that. You have to if you're going to succeed at a high level, right? Because you're going to have so many setbacks. Whether you're not going to win every game.
That's what I think too. I think conversely, think of all the times that you failed and you lost and you missed a shot and you turned the ball over and all those things that are, it's so difficult. You know what I mean? Sports gives you both aspects, the highest of high when you won a championship or hit the winning shot, and the lowest of low when you missed the game winner or you lost or whatever that looks like. And I love the resiliency that sports teaches you, because when you think you are at the top, literally the next game you could be at the bottom, and you have to deal with that adversity, and you have to figure out how to get back and how to work harder and how to deal with that. I mean, you know how many times you'd go to practice after a loss and you're down and you're just like, really, are you kidding me? And then you have to figure out how to get back and how to turn it around. That's hard, and that's the same in business and owning your own business and entrepreneurship and all that stuff. And even take it back to the hard work, like you say, the resiliency to be able to just roll up your sleeves and get back at it. And that's something that is really hard to teach, but athletes have to do that, right? Imagine how many times I remember in high school, I wasn't very good. I wasn't that good of a shooter. There was a lot of things I had to do. I couldn't learn at going to practice every day. I had to wake up at 6 a.m. and I'd have to go to school 2 hours early to try to make sure that I could get my 100 free throws in and my 100 shots in before I even started school, then go to practice. And in almost any athlete that you talk about, that was just to play high school and then take it to the next level in college. You've had the privilege to play at a really high level in college, way higher than I played. I mean, you were an amazing college basketball player. Your wife, your wife played Division I college basketball. Now you're seeing it through your kids. Right. You've got Sam. I don't know what's harder. I think it's harder. I would rather play than watch my kids.
Oh, for sure, no question. It's way easier to be out there doing it than watch your kids because you're so emotionally invested in them and. It's crazy. But
anxiety levels off the charts.
But it's so fun to see because of the ups and downs. Look at Sam's. He's been fortunate to have some college scholarships, and he's on a LDS mission. That's why you see guys. Dave drinks the Coca-Cola Coke Zero, and I have the whiskey on Whisky Wednesdays. I can't talk him into the whiskey yet because my good buddy Dave doesn't touch the alcohol. But side note. But Sam's got the opportunity, but you see how much hard work he's put in. You're right in the middle of it with Sophie right now. I mean, and Sophie's one of the top recruits in girls' college soccer, and she's having this amazing opportunity to go do some of those things. But look at the ups and downs, right? They just won a back-to-back national championship with her. Was it U17? U17 team. And the game before the national championship, she's one of the best players on the team, and she blows out her ACL.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about like the highs and the lows, and then having to battle back through, and then now going through. That wasn't. I mean, how many? That was only a month ago, a month and a half ago,
5 weeks ago. Yeah, who's counting though?
Yeah, who's counting, right? But the point is, it's a great example of these ups and downs in sports. And now she's going, and she's still, there's a lot of these schools that are like, hey, we know you're good. You're going to be good. I mean, she's getting all these amazing offers right now, and you're back into the upside, the upswing. But I promise you, there's going to be more downsides, right? You know that.
You know that. And that's when your back's against the wall. It's funny how quickly it can be taken from you. And I think I appreciate who you are as a person, because you're super humble about where you've been and now where you're at, because you know how challenging it can be and what the other side looks like. The failure, the struggles, the challenges, but also now the success and the winning and the great side of it. But we try to live our lives that way because we know how easy it can change, and are super grateful for everything we have,
Yeah, and you don't get too high in the highs, and you don't get too low in the lows, because you know you're going to go through them. And that's why I love sports. I feel like sports is a great metaphor for life, business, everything else that we're going to be doing. And, it's just, it feels so relatable to me. And I love knowing that what that journey looks like. I mean, it's partly why, like, we named the company Vodyssey, right? The part of it came from the word Odyssey, which is this epic journey with all these highs and lows and everything in between. And then I threw the V in front of it because I wanted a made up name that had vacation in it. So I called it Odyssey.
That's awesome.
But it's part of who we are and what we do and what we believe in is that there's always going to be those ups and downs.
Yeah, I'm going off script here a little bit. It's not on my notes. Give me one example of an amazing memory in any of your sports, athletic career. It could be in college, could be in high school. Anything that sticks out, any one memory that, like, you're thinking, wow, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was a game, right? I think of one of my most memorable games I ever played in. It was a game that I was in junior college. We were playing a really good team, and we were a pretty good team ourselves, but we were playing a really good team. And we started playing, and we got down by 20 at halftime. And this will be why it's so memorable, because of the ups and downs and the highs and the lows, right? But we were down by 20 at halftime. Came in, I didn't have a great half. I had like 8 points. Not a horrible half, but I was sitting about 8 points. I was a leading scorer, and we were just getting killed. And my coach was livid with me. I mean, livid, to the point where he was, I'm not an LDS guy. I was up at an LDS school and a church school, and you don't swear and do anything like that. Yeah. And there was a few things said that we probably had to say a couple ask
Hail
for
Marys.
Forgiveness for. Well, it was an LDS school. They don't say Hail Marys there. I was saying Hail Mary so that I'd survive the damn lashing I was getting, because I was a Catholic kid. But he throws this damn eraser at me, and I ducked, and he hits my teammate behind me. And he was so mad that I ducked, and it didn't hit me.
That made him even more mad.
Made it even more mad. So anybody that's plays sports can appreciate this stuff, right?
Take it. Yeah.
And he's like, take it like a man, like get hit by the eraser. I'm like,
hit you,
your natural instinct is duck, whatever. And so I missed the eraser, missed me. It hits my buddy, and he's still so mad at me. He says, "You're not starting. You're not playing the rest of the half." And I'm like, livid. And then he's still so mad that he looks at my best friend, who's my roommate at the time, and he says, "And you're not starting because you're friends with him." And he was our starting center, so he benched our two starters. And so
that is awesome.
He sits me on the bench. So we start the second half. We start playing, and we're at home, and we're getting our butts kicked. We never lost at home, by the way.
Yeah.
We had a really great home court advantage in the school.
Great atmosphere, great place.
Yeah, you're familiar with it. And he sits me for about 8 minutes. A college game, that's a long time. That's half of the second half. They're 20-minute halves.
Right.
So I sit about for 8 minutes, and I am livid. Like, I'm just sitting there fuming. As mad as he was at me, I was as mad at him, right? We were just like, and so he finally was like, we're just struggling, and he goes, get your butt in there. And so I hurry and go in, get in before he changes his mind. And I had probably one of the best offensive performances I've ever had in that amount of time. So I ended up scoring, I don't know how many points that half, but I ended up finishing the game with 40 points. And
wow. That's
just killed it in the second half. We went into overtime, went into double overtime, and so one of my best offensive performances. And then at the end of the game, I have a chance to win it. We're up by 2 points, and I'm at the foul line with 4 seconds left. And this was at the end of the first overtime. We're up by 2, 4 seconds left, and I have 2 free throws. And made one, missed the second. And they came down and hit a half quarter to put in the second overtime.
Oh, my gosh.
So could have ended it right there. We ended up losing in overtime by 1 point. And so it's this, the memory is not because everything turned out perfect. It was because it was this roller coaster, right? Yeah. And so I guess that's probably when I think back as like,
it's kind of like life.
Right. You look back at some of these times where you're like, there was like the whole gamut of emotions and things going on in that game. And so the long-winded answer, hey, you shouldn't go off script with me, man.
Dude, I love that. That's awesome. But that is cool that's like a true testament of what life is all about. Yeah. Whether you're in sports or whether you're in the business world, whether you're a father, whatever you're doing, it's you're going to have a lot of ups and downs. Battle through it and come out on top on the other side.
And you put in the best you can. And then you hope it works out, right? Good. Keep going.
Well, that's enough about us. But I hopefully, if you guys like that, we'll give you some kind of insights on who we are and what we do around here a little bit. So let's talk about a trending topic: short-term rental market. One of the things that is kind of on everybody's mind over the last, I'd say, probably year is kind of unique stays. Yeah. Niche markets, unique stays, tiny homes, yurts, somewhere that off the beaten path, not just a beach, a cabin, something a little odd or a little different. What do you think about that? Is it sustainable? Are they things that you think will continue down the path, or what are we looking at those type of properties?
It's really good. One, they are super trending, right? Even look at Airbnb, right? They're making this an actual category, of unique stays and different, and they continue to add to it. And so one is super popular. These, the yurts, the tree houses, the tiny homes, the Airstream trailers, the whatever, the glamping situation. And so they're very, very popular. They can be really high cash flowing portfolios for the investor, right? So if I'm looking at it as an investor, I look and say, okay, might be a really good option to get some land, put some of these, whether it's glamping or tiny homes or whatever else. A lot of times your all in is less than it would be on a stick-built type of a home in a more traditional real estate, portfolio. However,
can you charge a little bit more for it?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. Like, I mean, I was just looking at, in fact, it was funny you asked that because that came up because last week, one of our members is investing in a glamping situation. It's like, I think they've got like 25 different teepees that are built out. Yeah. Each one of these teepees, it's just outside, it's on the north side of Yellowstone National Park. So it's very seasonal. It's just summertime. Yeah. Each one of these teepees nets every single year about $60,000.
Wow.
And it only costs about $30,000 to get the pad and the teepee up.
Right.
And so, I mean, you're making all of your money back in 6 months.
Yeah.
Now, so when I say high cash flowing, they can be really high cash flowing. They're charging $400 a night for a teepee when you can go get cabins in that same area for the same price. So yes, you can charge for the experience, right? Remember, what we always say is when people are buying and booking something to stay in, they're booking the experience. Right. Well, that's a great experience. Yeah. It's different than they're not a hotel. It's not like their house at home. And so it's this different experience that they've never done. So they're willing to pay for it. Right. So yes, you can charge more. The drawback or the downside are two things. Is a lot of times your upfront cash, even though your all-in amount is less, you can't finance all those teepees. You can't finance all those things. So your upfront cash, you have to come in and be able to pay for all that stuff, right? Sometimes you can finance the land, but even land is harder to finance than regular stick-built type homes, right? So sometimes your upfront cash is significantly more than it would be if you went and bought a similar dollar amount property because you're only putting 10 or 20% down. So that can be a holdup for some people, right? The other thing is even though they're really high cash flowing, they don't appreciate there's really no appreciation, right?
Yeah. If you buy a cabin in the mountains, you typically know it's going to appreciate over time. These may not appreciate.
They're just not. I mean, you're going to be replacing them in 3 to 5 years, and rather than looking and saying, okay, and so you've got this next influx of cash that you've got to come up with. Even though you're getting a phenomenal return on your investment, there's nothing there that's building long term, right, and appreciating. So doesn't mean it's bad, right? You can look at it and say maybe that's what my portfolio looks like and I'm looking at more of a cash flow type of a business. 100% okay. And we've got a lot of people that we work with in our Wildest family that do that. The more traditional approach usually helps a lot of people get into it with less money and be able to still build that wealth long term with appreciation.
Good. No, I like that. I think a lot of people ask us, and you see them on the OTAs, the VRBOs and the Airbnbs and so forth. So you know that there is some significant demand for them. It's just a matter of looking at the numbers, like we teach all day long, is making sure the numbers look right and work out, and maybe it's an option. Plus, it's kind of fun. It's a unique stay, different. Typically, a lot of people don't have that experience in staying in those,
We have a $1 million cabin up by Yellowstone that we sold, but when we had that, we go up there and there's this glamping, it's called Canvas Under the Stars or something up there, and it's these wall tents, these canvas wall tents. And I'm not lying, it's an argument every time we go to our cabin that we have this beautiful cabin on the lake and she wants to stay in a damn wall tent. I'm like, you got to be crazy right now. I'm not paying.
I'm staying over here. I'll pick you guys up for breakfast. Okay.
Yeah, but the point is absolutely attractive to people because it's it's something that she just doesn't have.
Well, and it's
she's never done, right? And it's experience. She's like, let's go do that, right? And so for sure, there's demand for it.
Good. God. All right, so let's get a couple questions here. Again, we get these off of our several of our communities that people follow us. So this one's from Ben. He says, when do you consider selling a short-term rental? So you have a short-term rental, maybe it's for 1, 2, 3, maybe it's 5 years, and at some point you've probably accumulated some appreciation on the property. Maybe it's still cash flowing, it's increasing, and I guess there's some things to consider. Do you sell it, or do you just keep it as it appreciates? What's the answer to that?
Yeah, one, it's your property goals, Ben. Really, when we buy short-term rentals, we're looking to keep them for the long term, but there's a lot of really good reasons to sell properties. I sell properties all the time. As much as I preach, hey, you want to keep the properties long term, you definitely want to keep them, but there's a lot of times where you can significantly upgrade your portfolio by selling a property. Yeah. And so there are times when, you and I just did this. We had a property in Florida that went up significantly in value. Right. We felt like, hey, listen, it's kind of maxed out, right? We've maximized the asset. We didn't feel like we had a lot of upside to go up as far as maximizing the revenue that we were making on it. We were making money on it, but it had gone up in value enough that we said, hey, we're going to take that capital and we're going to parlay it into a bigger and better property that we feel like now that's down here and we can raise the value there. And so we can continue to maximize. And so it's a way to step up and upgrade your portfolio by selling a property. And so I'm not a huge fan of selling and putting the money in your pocket. You're better off having it in an asset, especially if it's giving you money. One of our kind of success stories and case studies that we've had in our Odyssey family for a long time was one of our original members that we started helping build their portfolio. And Jeff and Jessica, they bought this property down in Destin. They bought a property, and it checked all the boxes, right? It was one that everybody ignored. They were able to add some value to it. It started producing really well, and they added significant equity into it. They bought it for $750,000. They were into it about $800,000. This property was generating about $225,000 in gross income in their pocket. It ended up being about half of that, about $125,000, $135,000 in their pocket every single year. Right. Their initial investment, cash investment, was $15,000, and they tapped into the rest of that for their down payment into about $150,000 into a home equity line of credit. Okay. Yeah. So after everything, they were basically in this property nothing. Their return on investment was through the roof. Yeah. And so when he called and said, hey, we've got an offer that we can net $1 million in cash on this property. Right. What do we do? Because we're also have an asset that's paying us, $135,000 a year in net income in our pockets. Yeah. I mean, that's a tough decision. What do you do here? So that's what we had that conversation saying, listen, these are great decisions to have to make because neither one's a bad decision, right? Keeping that asset and keeping the cash flow, amazing. Tapping into the equity, build your portfolio that way, great. But what he was able to do is say, listen, what about taking that $1 million and parlaying it into 3 or 4 properties? Yeah. And now by doing so, takes that 135 and turns it into about 260, 270. Yeah. So more than doubles it by being able to take that equity and upgrade his portfolio. He wasn't going to be able to double or triple his income on that property. Right. And so he's able to double that cash flow by taking that equity out and building and upgrading his portfolio. So my opinion, Ben, is that's how you look at those decisions, is saying, what am I going to do with it? And am I able to sell this property and upgrade my portfolio by doing so?
And I love that him upgrading to 2 or 3 more properties, he has now 2 or 3 more places that he can use as a lifestyle
Absolutely.
asset and vacation at.
Yeah.
I love that part of it too.
Absolutely.
So, all right, this one's from Ryan. Why buy a short-term rental versus a long-term rental?
Great
What
question.
are the pros and cons to getting in? Because we have a lot of people that come to us that are in the long-term rental game and want to get into the short-term or vice, you know what I mean? So it's interesting to see what the pros and cons are.
This is a great question, and one that is neither asset you're not gonna go wrong with either asset, right? I'm a believer in real estate.
And I'm going to interrupt because I love that you say that, because most people aren't upfront and honest as you are about real estate, because their only agenda is short-term rental, short-term rental.
Yeah.
But you always say, if short-term rental is not right for you, get in real estate, because that's where you. And I love that, because we love short-term rentals. I mean, short-term, and that's all we do. But we also tell people, hey, there are a lot of great asset classes that you can invest in
real estate, period. Right?
Absolutely.
Like I'm a believer that real estate is the fastest way for the average person to build wealth, because of the leverage aspect, because of being able to get into it, because of the appreciation, all those different things. And whether it's commercial, whether it's multifamily, whether it's long-term rentals, whether it's short-term rentals, they all have their pros and cons. And so you have to decide what asset is right for you. Why do you want to get into it? One of the things that I love, about short-term and long-term, is they're single-family homes, right? These are single-family homes, which means they're fairly easy to get they're lendable, right? Yeah. They're fairly easy to get financing on versus some, commercial multifamily, things like that. Right. So that checks that box. A lot of people are able to buy long-term single-family rentals, short-term single-family rentals, right? And so if we could make money in the areas that we invest for short term, we would probably turn them into long-term rentals. Mm-hmm. If everybody's really honest with themselves, they're easier, right? Yeah. It's just easier to go put a long-term tenant in it for a year and not worry about it. And maybe you're fixing some toilets here and there or whatever else. With short-term rentals, we have to be really good at delivering an experience. We have to understand marketing.
You got to be up to par all the time.
You have to really raise the game. You're in the hospitality space. And so with long-term rentals, the problem with long-term rentals is most of the time the economics don't work in nicer areas with nicer properties. Mm-hmm. Just at a very baseline level, one of the reasons that I love short-term versus long-term, because I've done both in my career and I've had both, is I was able to buy my short-term rental portfolio is in a hell of a lot nicer areas than my long-term rental portfolio ever was.
Yeah, and that checks that box for sure.
So I can own better assets. Mm-hmm. I'm a believer in you buy quality assets, period. Whether you're buying stocks, whether you're buying real estate, whether you're buying whatever it is, whatever you're buying to invest in, you buy quality first. Yeah. And we always hear in real estate, location, location, location. Well, short-term rentals allow us to buy in some of the best locations. Yeah. So checks that box, right? The next thing is I actually really love to use our properties. Right. We love to go around and vacation them. You're not going to tell the wife and kids, grab your duffel bag, we're going to the duplex for the weekend, right? It just doesn't, you're not going to do that. I like that aspect. I like the personal use aspect of it. But that does not mean for 1 second that short-term rentals are better than long-term rentals. I know tons of people who have built significant lifestyle and financial freedom with a portfolio of long-term rentals. And vice versa. Short-term rentals just check a few more boxes for me.
I love, just to add a couple, I love the tax benefits of short-term rentals. And
that's a great point.
The quicker passive income on a short-term rental than a long-term rental. Long-term rental is pretty stable, pretty long-term. Short-term, you have the ability to grow your passive income. And really, that's part of what we teach. And, a lot of people don't have a lot of patience. And I love both of those things from a tax perspective and passive income.
And you really can accelerate the maturity of these types of assets, right? They mature in 3 to 5 years versus 12 to 15 years, right? The other thing is the size of the portfolio. I usually keep my portfolio between 6 and 10 properties. And people hear that and like, what? You've been doing this for how long? And that's what you do? But to the previous question, we constantly upgrade that portfolio. But how many members do we have? We don't have hundreds, but we've got more than a handful that are making 7 figures a year. And I think the largest portfolio is 8 properties, making over $1 million a year. Right. And to make $1 million a year on a long-term single-family rental portfolio, you need a hell of a lot more than 8 properties, at least in the markets that I've ever seen that work.
Well, good. Well, that's all we got today, buddy. I enjoyed the conversation.
Good job. This is good. Good job. You're a good MC.
I can't wait till next Wednesday.
Hey, let's do Let's do it.
Let's have a cheers right now, even before.
Hey, cheers.
All right,
cheers.
Here we go.
Good job. I appreciate that. Awesome. I'm not doing the cheers without taking a sip.
Okay, good.
All right, guys, we will wrap it up for today. So at the end of every episode, you guys know I ask you two things. First thing, pretty easy. Go give us a like, share this with anybody that you think would have any value out of it. Those things really do help us grow this show, spread our message. And the number two thing I always ask, which is always the most important thing, and that is to go pick one thing that you can do today to start building that life you don't want to take a vacation from. Cheers, my friends.